Hey guys, what's going on? Your old buddy Tim back in the Revolved Realty Studios. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I certainly am in the office today doing some work, making some notes, and I thought I would do a really quick video because I was thinking earlier today I was working with some new agents doing some training, and one of them asked me, what were the lessons that I had learned my first year in the business. Now, you may not know this, but I've only been in the real estate business from a license standpoint less than a year. So I'm a relative newbie, even though I've kind of hit the ground running pretty quickly. And we've accomplished a lot here at Revolved Realty. But it got me thinking about some of the deals that I've done this year, some of the mistakes that I made. A lot of it was because I really didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I didn't get a lot of training going in, which is one of the reasons we focus on training here at Revolved. I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of costly mistakes. I wrote some checks to cover some of those mistakes. So I thought what I would do then is just kind of come up with my top 10 or so things that I learned my first year in real estate. The first thing was always be brutally honest with the client. Now, if you're a new agent, you know how this is. You want the listing. Every listing you can get is a good listing. And sometimes we will look at a listing and rather than tell the customer exactly what we think, we kind of go along with the customer because we don't want to upset them. And I did this, admittedly. I've got a couple of listings that primarily were listed early on in my career where I was thinking one thing in the back of my mind while my mouth was saying other things to my customer. Mainly, I was just agreeing with the customer because they had an idea of what the house was worth and how quickly it would sell. And I was kind of just going along because I was a new agent and really didn't really know any better at the time. So I think that's the first lesson is always be brutally honest with your client when it comes to the saleability of the home. And that includes the price. How well is the house priced? The condition. How quickly, how easily will you be able to sell that house in its current condition? And that sort of thing, because if you are not honest with the customer, and granted, you might not get the listing, and that's okay. If you're not honest with them or give them, tell them exactly what you think, and then the house ends up sitting on the market for a while and, you keep having to reduce the price, you end up looking like the idiot, and rightfully so. So that's the first lesson. Even though it might cost you a customer, be brutally honest with that customer, especially if it's a listing when it comes to the condition and the price of the house. The second thing would be this: don't overpromise. All right, don't overpromise or tell them how quickly you think a house will sell. Again, this is something I learned early on. We want to please our clients. We want to get that listing. So maybe we overestimate the amount of money that it's going to bring, and we underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to sell. So always be honest. Don't overpromise. Don't say, well, it's a great house, it's going to sell quick. Or the market's super hot, it's going to sell really quickly. Because the truth is, you don't know how quickly that house is going to sell. You don't know how much it's going to sell for. So again, it goes back to being honest with your client. Do not overpromise on price or speed to sell. The other lesson, third lesson I learned is this: nothing happens quickly in real estate and nothing happens as you expect it to. Very rarely out of the 30 some odd deals we've worked have I had one that just went flawlessly smooth. All right, I've had some that were easy, I've had some that were hard, and I've had a lot that were in between. So nothing happens quickly. Even if you get an offer, a cash offer promising a 10-day close, I've had those offers. You know who you are. A lot of times those offers do not go as planned because you've got too much else going on. You've got inspections, you've got appraisals. Even if it's an all cash offer, if they don't have that money sitting in a bank account somewhere, it can complicate matters. So nothing happens quickly. Number 4, excuse me, focus on the details. The devil is in the details. I can't tell you how many times I've kind of glossed over things and didn't notice things that have ended up being an issue. You know, whether that was something like, well, the items left in the garage by the owner, even though they're not on the contract, they're going to come back and get them, and then the buyer did away with them. Or it was not in the contract that a refrigerator was going to convey, or it was going to convey, and then the homeowner took the refrigerator. I wrote checks to cover both of those deals. So always pay attention to the details, especially when it comes to what's being left in the house and what's going to convey with the house, okay? The devil is in the details. Number 6 is the client is not always right. You've heard the old adage in business, the client's always right. Not always, especially in real estate. You got to remember, real estate is a subjective product, meaning that there are certain rules and regulations as well as opinions that come into play. So if your customer believes that his house is worth this and you know it's worth this, that customer's not right, and it is your duty to say, I don't think you're going to get that for your house. You're priced out of market. All right. Real estate is always also one of those professions that lends itself by its nature to negotiation, which leads to arguments. So you've always got to be careful getting involved in those kind of things. My advice to new realtors is be professional. Do not get down on a petty personal level with your clients when it comes time to negotiate. Keep everything on a business plane, and make sure your client understands that you are a business person, you're a professional, you are there to do a professional service, and you're not there to get down in the mud between them and the buyer, as so often happens. Another thing that I've learned is preparation is key. If you are working with buyers especially, pre-qualification of the funding, making sure that they can truly afford the house that they are pre-qualified for. You've got to be prepared for any and all things that might happen in a deal. Again, it's very easy to gloss over the mistakes, but you've got to be prepared. If you're going to make an offer on a house, you want to make sure that it is a house that your client can afford. Not that he's pre-qualified for, but can afford, because those are two very different things. You might have a client who pre-qualifies for $200,000 on a mortgage, but can only afford $300 or $400 a month. So keep that in mind. Preparation is key. The other thing is never show a house to a client who can't afford that house. If you are a real estate agent, you've worked with buyers who they may be able to afford this much, but they want to see houses that are priced up here. I personally think it's a mistake to show them those houses. Why would you show them something they can't afford? Because then they're going to compare everything they can afford to that. You're setting a higher bar that they can't afford to reach. So always, and this goes back to preparation, find out how much house they can afford and show them houses within that range. A couple of other things. Be careful who you trust in the real estate business. Again, this is a business. It can be a very cutthroat business. So always get contracts signed. Never do things on speculation. I could go into details on that one, but I won't. So just be careful who you trust. And I think the final thing is always do your best. Always do the best for your client, because that is your job. You are an agent for your client. So always do the best with their best interest in play. It's not about you. It's not about the money that's going in your pocket. It is about the deal you are conducting for your client. So always keep that in mind. So those are the 9, 10, 11 things that I tell all of my new agents when I do training. I think if you do those, if you go by those 10 commandments, if you will, you're going to be fine. All right. And hey, if I can ever do anything for you, whether you are a realtor or a client, don't hesitate to call. We're growing like crazy here at Revolved. We've got, 12 agents on staff now. We've got more coming. And I think one of the reasons is it's such a good place to work. Higher commissions, Always good, right? The money, higher commissions, no fees. We don't charge for silly things like office space, printing, marketing materials. We provide everything at no charge to the agent, lockboxes, signage, that sort of thing. So if you are a new agent or an established agent that is looking for a better deal than what you have now, I'd love to talk to you. My name is Tim Knox with Revolved Realty. Give me a call, 256-679-0704. You can email me, tim@revolved.com. All right. You guys go out and make it a great day. I'll talk to you soon.